This image shows four types of calipers. The top caliper has a digital readout. Digital slide calipers have become very common in recent years. Most offer the ability to toggle back and forth between decimal inch and metric measurements. Below it is a dial caliper. Most models give readings either in thousandths of an inch, fractions, or metric. However, they do not offer the ability to go back and forth between units like their digital counterparts. The third caliper from the top is a vernier caliper. While very accurate, they are more time-consuming to read and are not frequently seen in shops anymore. The last item is a snap caliper. It is primarily limited to measuring the thickness of panels. It tends to be the most accurate of all caliper types because it applies a constant even pressure on the jaws. This presentation will focus primarily on how to read and use digital calipers, though many of the concepts covered will apply to dial, vernier, and snap calipers. To use your slide caliper effectively, you need to be familiar with the parts. Slide calipers have outside measurement jaws for external measurements and inside measurement jaws to measure internal measurements, such as the width of a hole. The depth measuring blade is used to measure hole depths. A thumb wheel is used to move the head or display, which is connected to the jaws. The displays on most digital calipers are fairly similar. Some will have an on-off button. Others are activated by sliding the head along the ruler. All should have a 0 button, and most will have a metric inch button. This model also has the ability to display fractions. A locking screw can be tightened to keep the sliding head from moving. A slide caliper can be used in 4 different ways to take measurements. Figure 1 shows the use of the offset jaws to measure a step or rabbet. Figure 2 shows the use of the jaws for external measurements. Figure 3 shows the use of the inside measurement jaws for internal measurements. The final figure shows the use of the depth stop to measure the depth of a hole. Most electronic calipers have a display which reads in thousandths of an inch to 3 decimal places, and either tenths or hundredths of a millimeter, 1 or 2 decimal places. The reading here is 548 thousandths, or just over 1/2 inch. Decimal equivalents for inch measurements are usually written and spoken in terms of thousandths of an inch. In order to understand thousandths of an inch, let's look at the ruler from a previous lesson. It is divided into 16ths of an inch. If we divide 1 inch in half, you get 1/2 inch, or 0.5 inches, or 500 thousandths of an inch. Divide 1/2 inch in half, and you'll get 250 thousandths, or 0.250. Likewise, 1/8 inch is half of 1/4 inch, which equals 0.125, or 125 thousandths of an inch. If we look at the difference between 1/4 and 1/2 inch, we come upon 3/8 of an inch, which is 375 thousandths, or 0.375. Halfway between a 1/2 inch and 1 inch is 3/4 of an inch, or 0.750, or 750 thousandths of an inch. Between 1/2 inch and 3/4 is 0.625 inches or 625 thousandths of an inch. In fraction form, 5/8 of an inch. And lastly, between 3/4 of an inch and 1 inch is 7/8 of an inch or 0.875, also known as 875 thousandths of an inch. The typical thickness of a human hair is between 2 and 6 thousandths of an inch. This leaves 0.004 or 4 thousandths of an inch as an average, which is also the typical thickness of a piece of paper. 4 thousandths of an inch, as shown on the left, is the same as 0.1 millimeter or 1/10 of a millimeter. This caliper reads to 2 decimal places in metric mode. Other common numbers to be aware of are 1 inch is the equivalent of 25.4 millimeters. 3/4 of an inch is approximately 19 millimeters. And 1/2 inch is equal to 12.7 millimeters. Digital slide calipers are useful tools. For more information on how to use and care for your caliper, check out the video listed here.